Today's daily dose of math is how to answer the question, is the proportion correct? You're given a proportion, and when you want to know if the left side really does equal the right side. I'm going to show three different ways of doing this. The first way is quite simple. It's just divide. Now, if you have to do that pencil and paper, you might not want to do it, but my students are allowed to use the calculator. So each of these fractions that are on either side of the proportion is a division. So we're doing 2 divided by 5 to see what this one is equal to in decimal form. 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. Is that equal to this? We divide here as well. 40 divided by 120 is 0.33, and then the 3 is repeating. So no, these two decimals are not equal to each other. We have the answer to our question. Is there a way of doing this where you don't need a calculator? How about cross multiplication? That's where we do the top times the other bottom and see if it's equal to the bottom times the other top. This is very commonly done with proportions when they are correct proportions. Let's see what happens here. We're doing 2 times 120, which is 240, equals 5 times 40, which is 200. 240 is not equal to 200. So again, no. We already knew that this proportion was not correct because we proved that with our division, but cross multiplication also proves it. The third method is common denominator. If you're working with fractions, then you're practicing making common denominators. You're looking for the lowest common multiple of the two denominators that are already there. 5 and 120 have a lowest common multiple of 120, so that would be the common denominator. I rewrite like this. Now, the one on the right was already over 120, so I didn't have to change it. But the one on the left, I got 5 to turn into 120 by multiplying 5 by 24. So I have to multiply 2 by 24, and that gives me 48. Now we can easily see that the left side is not equal to the right side. No, the proportion is not correct. Let's try it again with a few more examples. Here, let's do division. 3 divided by 4 in the calculator is going to give me 0.75. 75 divided by 100 is also going to give me 0.75. So the answer is yes for this one. But let's use the other two methods. Cross multiplication, 3 times 100 is equal to 4 times 75. When I do my multiplications, I get 300 equals 300. So yes, the proportion is correct. We already knew that would happen. And now a common denominator. The lowest common multiple of 4 and 100 is 100. So I want to put both of my fractions over 100. The one on the right is already over 100. The one on the left, 4 turns into 100 by multiplying 4 by 25, so I have to multiply 3 by 25, and that gives me 75. And we can see, yes, the left side is equal to the right side, the proportion is correct. This one has a decimal inside it, but that doesn't have to stop us. 1.5 divided by 3, if I do it in my calculator, is going to give me 0.5. 3 divided by 8 is going to give me 0.375. They are not equal, so therefore no, this proportion is not correct. Cross multiplying 1.5 times 8 must be equal to 3 times 3. 1.5 times 8 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. No, 12 is not equal to 9, so no, the proportion is not correct. Common denominator. The lowest common multiple of 3 and 8 is 24. This time I have to modify both fractions. I have to expand both fractions so they're over 24. How do I get 3 to turn into 24? I multiply it by 8. So the 1.5 has to be multiplied by 8, and I get 12. How do I get the 8 to turn into 24? I multiply it by 3. So this 3 has to also be multiplied by 3, and I get 9. No, the left side is not equal to the right side. The proportion is not correct. This one's full of decimals. This is going to start being a little bit more inconvenient. But 2.5 divided by 12.5 in my calculator gives me 0.2. So even with all these decimals, the division method still works just as easily. 1.1 divided by 5.5 is also giving me 0.2. 0.2 is equal to 0.2, so yes, this proportion is correct. Cross multiplying, this will take a little bit longer. 2.5 times 5.5. That's the top here times the bottom there. Has to be equal to 12.5 times 1.1. 2.5 times 5.5 is 13.75. 12.5 times 1.1 is 13.75. Yes, the left side is equal to the right side. It is a proportion. It is correct. But we knew that was going to happen. Finally, common denominator. This looks like a real mess. Now, this is why it's good to have more than one method. But common denominator, I can find a common multiple of 12.5 and 5.5 by multiplying them by each other. And that gives me 68.75. So this is an ugly common denominator, but it is a common denominator. To get 12.5 to turn into 68.75, I multiplied it by 5.5, so my 2.5 has to be multiplied by 5.5, and I get 13.75. To get 5.5 to turn into 68.75, I multiplied it by 12.5, so my 1.1 has to be multiplied by 12.5, and I get 13.75. So yes, notice how the values that I get when I do the cross multiplication here end up being the same values that I have to do in the numerators when I do the common denominator method. So we have seen 3 different methods for proving whether or not a proportion is correct. Use the method that you like best, but the best thing is to know all of the methods. Think of that as like having a toolbox with 3 nice new sharp tools that you have practiced with and know how to use in it. And then when you're doing your math, you reach into your toolbox and you take whichever tool you like best and you get the answer right. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.